or take the praise for what it is, or understand that, okay, if I do this, it's gonna be more trouble than it's worth.
That's right.
So a moment of instant gratification.
Imagine this. You are one of the biggest stars in the world. You are respected, loved, and you have years of history with someone who meant the world to you. Then suddenly, you hear someone in the industry talk like they walked the same path as your true friend. Someone you never really clicked with. Someone you feel might not understand the heart, the struggle, and the real grind behind your friend's journey. That is the energy behind the quiet, tense, and very real conversation fans believe happened around Samuel L. Jackson and Steve Harvey when the topic of Bernie Mac came up. Stay with me till the very end of this video, because the deeper this story goes, the more wild it gets. And trust me, you do not want to miss the end. Now, when we talk about legends in comedy, Bernie Mac is always one of the first names that comes to mind. His humor was raw, real, and carried the soul of someone who lived life fully and worked his way up without changing who he was. Bernie Mac was not just funny, he was honest. He came from the heart, from the struggle, from the neighborhood, and from real-life pain. He turned all of that into laughter for the world. And standing right beside him through parts of his journey was Samuel L. Jackson. Yes, the same Samuel who played Nick Fury in The Avengers, Jules in Pulp Fiction, and so many more unforgettable characters. These two were not just industry friends, they were real friends who shared moments, support, dreams, and hard times. Samuel L. Jackson once talked about how he knew Bernie was having health struggles during filming, but Bernie never complained. He walked on set ready, he pushed through, he fought every day to do what he loved. That kind of loyalty and heart stays with people forever. So when fans heard whispers that Samuel L. Jackson reacted strongly to Steve Harvey talking about Bernie Mac or comparing himself to Bernie, people were not shocked, because for Samuel L. Jackson, Bernie was not just a co-star. Bernie Mac was family in spirit.
I knew having some health issues, and I was really concerned about him, but he would look at me every day and say, "I'm good, let's go, let's hit it." And we would hit it. And it was a joy to work on that movie.
So the idea of someone drawing comparisons lightly, especially someone who fans say had a very different path and a very different approach, was not something Samuel seemed interested in hearing. And here is where things get interesting. See, Steve Harvey and Bernie Mac also came up in the same era. They did the original Kings of Comedy together: Steve Harvey, Bernie Mac, Cedric the Entertainer, and D.L. Hughley. They shared stages, audiences, huge moments, and history. But behind the scenes, rumors have been around for years that there was tension between Bernie Mac and Steve Harvey. Some said competition, some said jealousy, some said misunderstanding.
You feel that the beef between Bernie Mac and Steve Harvey was because Steve Harvey was getting a lot of network love during the time and Bernie Mac not so much?
Yeah, and then Bernie started to get...
Cedric the Entertainer even once admitted they had different personalities. Now, none of us were in the room, but the whispers online and in interviews over time paint a picture that they were never as close as people thought. There were old reports that Bernie Mac once felt like Steve Harvey tried to block opportunities from him. Fans pointed to stories involving film roles and big career moments. Again, these are alleged, nothing confirmed in court or proven by documents, but these thoughts have been around for years. And when Bernie Mac opened up once in a GQ interview about feeling like a fellow comedian tried to step in front of him, people connected dots. Later, fans brought this back when Cedric spoke on Shannon Sharpe's podcast, Club Shay Shay, where Cedric hinted there were personality differences and strong energy between Bernie and Steve. And when you mix strong personalities, big careers, and industry pressure, there is bound to be sparks. Now here's why Samuel L. Jackson enters the story in such a powerful way. Samuel and Bernie go way back before the Hollywood lights, before the blockbuster movies, before all the fame. Samuel once shared that Bernie even gave him a place to stay. That kind of bond is real. That is not just business. That is brotherhood. So if someone who didn't share that history, that struggle, or that bond started speaking in a way that made it seem like they shared the same experience, it would hit different. It would hit deep. It would feel personal. Fans online say Samuel L. Jackson's reaction was like, "Hold on now, that brother was special. He earned his respect, and not everyone gets to put themselves in that same space." And if you watch interviews closely, Samuel L. Jackson is calm, classy, but also very direct. He doesn't hide how he feels. There was even that famous moment when people saw pictures of Samuel L. Jackson and his wife on a vacation yacht near Steve Harvey and his wife. The internet was like, oh, they're friends. But later, Samuel made it very clear it was not a planned trip. It was not a group hangout. It was a coincidence. And the look on his face when he explained it said 1,000 things without saying a word. Fans picked up on it instantly. You already know the internet. One facial expression and boom, everybody is reading the whole relationship. So why would Samuel L. Jackson distance himself from Steve Harvey? Fans say it could be about values. When Bernie Mac spoke about success, he talked about giving your best, staying true to yourself, and focusing on being a good person. Bernie hated the idea of focusing only on money or fame. He wanted to entertain the world, not be owned by the world. Meanwhile, Steve Harvey has openly talked many times about money, wealth, and business success. That's not wrong. Everyone has their own path, but to fans, it shows a big difference in motivation and mindset. Bernie Mac worked for love and legacy. Steve Harvey often talks about working for financial success and power. Two different worlds. Then you add personal life into it, and Steve Harvey's name has not always been clean in the court of public opinion. There have been family issues, divorce battles, public statements from his ex, and past accusations that created a cloud of drama around his personal world. Again, allegations, not convictions, but public perception matters. And when someone like Bernie Mac lived his life loving family, respecting hard work, and focusing on uplifting people, that image clashes hard with rumors and drama. Imagine being Samuel L. Jackson, watching someone you loved, admired, and respected get compared to someone who many believe had a very different personal and professional energy. It would make anyone annoyed, maybe even protective. And here is another thing to think about. Bernie Mac was loved by people across generations and backgrounds. Kids, adults, elders, everyone loved him. He didn't chase clout. He didn't chase praise. He worked from the heart. His jokes made you feel seen, whether you were laughing or thinking. That is a rare gift, and because of that, people protect his name like he never left. The world still hurts that he passed so soon. So when people talk about Bernie Mac, emotions come with it. Respect comes with it. People remember realness, not just success. Now, think about Steve Harvey. He's had an amazing career. He's built huge shows. He's inspired many. But some people feel he sometimes speaks like he invented the game. And when someone like Bernie Mac lived the game, breathed the game, and earned his way with pure soul, that can hit people differently. And that is why fans think Samuel L. Jackson reacted with a little heat when Bernie's name came up. So where does the story go from here? Fans believe if Steve Harvey ever tries to respond or act like he and Bernie walked the same path, Samuel L. Jackson would not hold back. He might stay polite, but he would be firm, because real loyalty never fades. When someone has been there for you, opened their home to you, lifted your spirit when you were down, and loved you like family, you protect their legacy forever. That is loyalty. That is honor. That is love. And that is why fans say Samuel L. Jackson will always stand up for Bernie Mac. Before we close, think about this line from Bernie himself. If you do well, the money will come. That line alone tells you who he was. He didn't chase validation. He chased greatness. And he earned it. So no matter what is said, no matter who tries to compare legacies, one thing stays true. Bernie Mac will always be remembered for his heart, his strength, and his realness. And Samuel L. Jackson is one friend who clearly never forgot that. Stay to the end, because right now, wherever Bernie Mac is, fans believe he is somewhere smiling, knowing people still ride for him, still honor him, and still feel his light. And this story reminds us all, legends never die. Real hearts never fade. And when someone like Bernie Mac touches the world holds tight, forever. If you enjoyed this deep dive, stick around because more stories like this are coming, and trust me, each one will make you think, feel, and remember the icons who changed the game forever. Make sure you watch till the end of every video because you never know what truth, what emotion, and what history will show up next. And when you look at all this, it starts making sense why Samuel L. Jackson didn't clap or celebrate when Steve Harvey tried to put himself on the same level as Bernie Mac. Because to Samuel, Bernie wasn't just a co-star. He was a brother, a soldier, a man who worked hard, stayed humble, and kept his heart pure. Bernie wasn't chasing money, power, or fame. He was chasing greatness and faith and family. And Samuel saw that. He lived that. So when someone like Steve, who talks a lot about money, status, and success, starts acting like he walked the same road Bernie walked, of course Samuel is going to speak up. And trust me, he did. Even if he didn't yell or scream, his tone said everything. Now family, stay with me, because this story doesn't stop here. What we are about to get into next is where things really start to heat up, and you don't want to miss this part. So stay locked in till the end.
Now, think about Steve Harvey. He has had an amazing career. He has built huge shows. He has inspired many. But some people feel he sometimes speaks like he invented the game. And when someone like Bernie Mac lived the game, breathed the game, and earned his way with pure soul, that can hit people differently. And that is why fans think Samuel L. Jackson reacted with a little heat when Bernie's name came up. So where does this story go from here? Fans believe if Steve Harvey ever tries to respond or act like he and Bernie walked the same path, Samuel L. Jackson would not hold back. He might stay polite, but he would be firm. Because real loyalty never fades. When someone has been there for you, opened their home to you, lifted your spirit when you were down, and loved you like family, you protect their legacy forever. That is loyalty, that is honor, that is love. And that is why fans say Samuel L. Jackson will always stand up for Bernie Mac. Before we close, think about this line from Bernie himself. If you do well, the money will come. That line alone tells you who he was. He did not chase validation. He chased greatness, and he earned it. So no matter what is said, no matter who tries to compare legacies, one thing stays true. Bernie Mac will always be remembered for his heart, his strength, and his realness. And Samuel L. Jackson is one friend who clearly never forgot that. Stay to the end, because right now, wherever Bernie Mac is, fans believe he is somewhere smiling, knowing people still ride for him, still honor him, and still feel his light. And this story reminds us all, legends never die, real hearts never fade, and when someone like Bernie Mac touches the world holds tight forever. If you enjoyed this deep dive, stick around because more stories like this are coming, and trust me, each one will make you think, feel, and remember the icons who changed the game forever. Make sure you watch till the end of every video because you never know what truth, what emotion, and what history will show up next. And when you look at all this, it starts making sense why Samuel L. Jackson didn't clap or celebrate when Steve Harvey tried to put himself on the same level as Bernie Mac. Because to Samuel, Bernie wasn't just a comedian. He was a brother, a soldier, a man who worked hard, stayed humble, and kept his heart pure. Bernie wasn't chasing money, power, or fame. He was chasing greatness and faith and family. And Samuel saw that. He lived that. So when someone like Steve, who talks a lot about money, status, and success, starts acting like he walked the same road Bernie walked, of course Samuel is going to speak up. And trust me, he did. Even if he didn't yell or scream, his tone said everything. Now, family, stay with me because this story doesn't stop here. What we are about to get into next is where things really start to heat up, and you don't want to miss this part. So stay locked in till the end. Because even after all of these years, the internet still remembers what Bernie Mac said in his interview. Bernie didn't cry about it. He didn't beg for attention. He didn't drag Steve publicly every day. He simply told the truth. He said Steve tried to block him. He said Steve tried to take roles from him. He said Steve tried to shine by dimming someone else's light. And if that doesn't show a man's character, I don't know what does. Because when someone tries to stop your success, that tells you everything about them. Bernie shined so bright that even jealousy couldn't stop him. But what did Bernie do? He stayed focused. He stayed disciplined. He kept grinding. He didn't fight dirty. He didn't pay people back the way they came at him. He just kept rising. And that's why today his legacy is loved. His comedy is loved. His heart is loved. Even after passing, Bernie Mac is still respected as a legend. Meanwhile, Steve Harvey still has to defend himself every time people bring his name up next to Bernie's. That tells you everything already. And when Cedric the Entertainer came out and confirmed that there really was tension between Bernie and Steve, it sealed it. Cedric was there. Cedric saw it. Cedric knows. Cedric didn't sugarcoat it. He tried to keep it peaceful, but even he couldn't deny the truth. Bernie and Steve did not vibe like that. And remember, Cedric was close to both of them. Cedric loved Bernie. Cedric respected Steve. But even he had to say, yeah, they didn't get along like people thought. Now, family, comment down below. If your closest friends see tension between you and someone, that means it's real. That's not gossip. That's not rumors. That's facts. And then you throw in the fact that D.L. Hughley also spoke about how powerful personalities clashed during the King of Comedy era, and suddenly the story becomes clear. It wasn't just one person saying it. It wasn't a one-time rumor. It was a known thing. Bernie was rising fast. Fans loved him. Hollywood was calling him. People connected to him. He was raw, real, and genuine. And some men, when they see another man win, they either clap and cheer, or they get jealous and try to block him. Which one does it look like Steve chose? But here's the real twist, the one most people don't talk about. Even after things went sour, Bernie Mac still respected the craft. He didn't spend years dragging Steve. He didn't try to ruin Steve's career. He just said what happened. He told his truth. He kept his dignity. That's class. That's real confidence. That's real legacy energy. And when Samuel L. Jackson heard people trying to put Steve in Bernie's lane, he didn't even need to say a whole speech. One reaction, one look, one tone, and the whole world knew. Jackson basically said without saying it, don't play with Bernie's name like that. That's loyalty. That's love. That's respect. That's brotherhood. And family, make sure you stay with me till the end because there is another layer to this story, a deeper one that explains why Steve Harvey has rubbed so many people the wrong way over the years. Because Steve always talks about being blessed, being chosen, being successful. But what a lot of folks see is a man who steps on people when it benefits him. When his ex-wife talked about what she went through, people listened. When stories came out about his behavior behind closed doors, people paid attention. Even comedians like Katt have taken shots at Steve. And now seeing Samuel L. Jackson's reaction, it just adds to the pile. It's like every time someone tries to compare Steve to legends who built their careers with purity and grit, it never sits right with people, because there's a difference between being successful and being beloved. Bernie Mac was beloved. Samuel L. Jackson is beloved. Cedric the Entertainer is beloved. Even D.L. Hughley is beloved. But Steve Harvey? People respect his hustle, yes. But love? That's a different conversation. Because love is earned. Love is built. Love comes from who you are when no one's watching. And from the way legends react when Steve's name is put next to Bernie's, the energy says it all. Now, before we go deeper, if you're still watching right now, shout out to you. You are a real one. Stick with me because in a moment, I'm going to show you how this story connects to the bigger picture, legacy versus fame, respect versus validation, purity versus ego. This is about more than just celebrity drama. This is about how real men move, how legends are made, how character outlives money every single time. So family, buckle up and stay till the end. We're not done yet. We're just getting started. The more this situation continues unfolding online, the more people are starting to connect dots that they never connected before about Samuel L. Jackson and Steve Harvey and how every time Bernie Mac's name comes up, the energy instantly changes. And yes, you need to watch this video until the very end, because once we reach the Hollywood side of this and the elite influence and the industry politics that surrounded Bernie Mac when he was alive, this entire situation starts looking like it was never just about comedy, it was never just about funny material, it was about power positions in the industry, and Steve Harvey wanted that spot Bernie held. Samuel L. Jackson could see through that, because Samuel L. Jackson was not clout chasing. He was already Samuel L. Jackson. He was already Nick Fury, Pulp Fiction icon, Oscar-nominated star. He was already cemented as a force. He didn't have to compete with Steve Harvey. But Bernie was the one in Steve Harvey's category. Bernie was the one who could take the space Steve Harvey wanted. So when Steve Harvey allegedly tried to undercut Bernie behind his back, this becomes personal in a different way. It becomes deeper than arguments. It becomes betrayal at a legacy level. And that is why Samuel L. Jackson reacts the way he reacts when people start saying Steve Harvey and Bernie Mac were similar or equal or had the same values. When Cedric the Entertainer talked about Steve Harvey and Bernie Mac not getting along on Club Shay Shay with Shannon Sharpe, Cedric didn't deny it. He didn't protect Steve. He didn't try to twist it. He openly confirmed that the tension was real. D.L. Hughley also has never been blind to the competitive energy going on during those comedy tour days. D.L. knew Bernie's gift. D.L. knew Bernie's energy. D.L. knew Bernie was the fearless one. Bernie was the one who wasn't scared to go raw and speak reality. Steve Harvey always had the polished, corporate-friendly, brand-safe, TV-safe persona, the type of persona that gets you sponsorships and produces big network checks. Bernie was for the people. Bernie was for regular pain, regular struggle, regular truth.